it just gives me a rush. It makes me feel alive. First time around with my first company, it was really a breeze. People were throwing their credit cards at us. We were multimillionaires at a very young age. With our first company, we got 20 times.
Wow. Welcome to Inspired by Success, the podcast where I deep dive into the mindset of successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and thought leaders. Get ready to be inspired and gain valuable insights to unlock your true potential. Our guest today is a dynamic entrepreneur, a devoted small business champion, and a mother of four. She's the visionary behind CorpNet.com, helping over 500,000 entrepreneurs navigate business incorporation and LLC formation. She's an expert in small business legal matters, which has made her an international sensation and a sought-after contributor to major media outlets like Entrepreneur and the Huffington Post. With honors such as Top 100 Small Business Influencer and Women Business Owner of the Year, it's a privilege to welcome Nellie Akalp to the show. Welcome, Nellie. It's great to have you.
Thank you so much, Linda, for having me.
So you started your entrepreneur journey with mycorporation.com in 1997, then CorpNet in 2009. With such a diverse and successful career, what fuels your passion for entrepreneurship and supporting small businesses?
The idea of being my own boss and creating something out of nothing, watching it grow, and being able to really navigate the ins and outs and all the trials and tribulations that starting your own business offers you is maybe to some people I'm sick-minded, but for me it's very, very exciting. It just gives me a rush. It makes me feel alive. Not only I love doing that for myself, but I also like to see other people kind of going after their own business dreams and helping them blaze their trails as well.
So you're making a huge impact too. Now,
Thank you.
you've helped over 500,000 entrepreneurs start their businesses. So you've seen a lot. Given the stats that 20% of new businesses fail during the first 2 years, 45% during the first 5 years, and 65% during the first 10 years, what makes some businesses last and endure the test of time? So what are the key foundations needed to succeed?
I think first and foremost, you need to have your skin in the game and you need to have the stomach for failure. I think oftentimes a lot of business owners give up too early because of having this vision or narrative in their head and then kind of getting disappointed with the results. So I think one of the key ingredients to being a successful entrepreneur when starting any business is making sure that you have the stomach and grit for it. Because it takes a lot of grit, it takes a lot of discipline, it takes a lot of consistency, it takes a lot of passion to start a business and weather the ups and downs of starting a business. And I think that's something that I can really attest to because first time around with my first company, it was really a breeze. We started a company at the height of the internet where it was at the birth of the internet in 1997. And we put up a one-page website and truly like people were throwing their credit cards at us, where after the sale of the initial company, taking some time off and starting CorpNet, our current company, we started CorpNet at the height of the recession. So the marketplace had really changed. The market had changed. The climate had changed. And I feel that with CorpNet, it was a different playing field for me. But because I had the passion and because I believed in what I did, I was able to come start and also had to weather a lot of failures. Because starting a business and coming into the same industry that you've done before and you not only started it, but you took it all the way to acquisition and then starting all over again in the same industry, you kind of have this ego that goes along with it. I've done this before, I'm going to do it again and I'm going to be rock star at it. And that wasn't the case for me. For me, it was having that big kind of aha moment where what you did before is not going to happen again and you're going to have to pivot. So second time around for me, it was really, really where God and my higher power really tested my grit and tested my, I would say, are you in it to win it type of a game? My skill set, are you in it to win this? And I would say second time around where it was really when I got to really, really weather the trials and tribulations of starting a business the second time around and also having to weather and be faced with multiple disappointments and failures and truly, truly having that grit, having that stomach to weather those and being like, no, I'm going to do this because I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to pivot. If this doesn't work, I'm going to do it this way. And that's exactly what we did and why we're here today.
It's amazing.
Better than our first company and even more successful than our first company.
Wow. Because, like, when you got acquired, we'll just touch base on that afterwards. But when you got acquired, you could have just got out of the game and retired. What made you want to go back and do the same thing again? Do you know what I mean? Like, and start building
So that's a
again.
question that I often get asked, and it's a great question. First time around when we sold our company, I was really young. My husband was really young. We were multimillionaires at a very young age, and I think I was like 32. And you come into a lot of money, you go through some pre-midlife crisis, so to say, and then you kind of look at it and you go, okay, well, I'm kind of bored. How much shopping am I going to do? How much traveling am I going to do? How many cars am I going to get? And it just kind of gets boring after a while. And I was too bored and frankly too passionate. And I often found myself sitting at my friends' businesses and trying to support them in growing their business. And I also didn't like what was really going on in the marketplace as far as the competition and how they were providing services in the same category as we were. And I just felt like I was too bored, too young, too passionate to take on an early retirement. And I was really crawling out of my skin at a point. So in 2009, it was at the height of the recession and I was bored, and we came up with the only 7-letter domain name that was available that would be close to even anything descriptive of what we wanted to do. And CorpNet.com was born.
Beautiful and inspiring as well. In terms of selling, you managed to sell your first company to Intuit for 20 million in 2008, right?
Yes, 2005.
Oh, okay. Wow. 2005. What lessons did you learn from that experience? And do you have any tips for others looking to exit and sell their business?
First of all, I was very blessed with this opportunity. Intuit is a great company. As far as lessons learned, I think the lessons that I learned were more personal to me. First of all, I learned that you definitely start knowing who your true friends are. Because when money comes into the picture, it really changes people and how people view you as a human and then how you view them as an individual. So for me, that was a big and disappointing time of my life because I really got to see people and their true colors. The other thing that was a big, I wouldn't say a lesson learned, but more like when you start a business and then you get it to a point where you want to sell it. For me, it was really hard and painful because a business is like your baby. So it's like you're with that business 24/7. And for me, it was really hard. I actually had to get into therapy for it because I was really having a hard time separating from the business. And then once I separated from the business and there was this period of separation, then it's really hard because of the fact that you not only now are separated from that business, but then you're kind of seeing somebody else take care of that business. So it's really difficult. So those were kind of the realizations that I had. And I would say the lessons learned, for me, lessons learned, in my opinion, it was just like they did a whole due diligence on us and everything passed, but it made me realize how much record keeping is so important.
The books and whatnot.
Exactly. And then it also made me realize as to who I really want part of my tribe in business. And it made me realize that boundaries are really important when it comes to both internal boundaries, when it comes to protecting yourself from others, but also external boundaries when it comes to protecting people from me. Really important to separate business relationships and personal relationships and not being able to mix the two because it really can get very blurry. Other than that, I would say it's been the biggest blessing of my life. I wouldn't change a minute of it. I wouldn't change anything that happened to me because had I not gone through that path, I wouldn't be here today where I am today.
Exactly. So, for advice for our audience, what factors do you consider when deciding whether to exit a business or continue its growth? When did you decide, yep, it's time to exit? How did that happen?
So, for full transparency, we didn't have an exit plan in place with our first company. It just happened that we ended up getting acquired. Truly, when that call came through, it was under the guise of partnership with Intuit and them wanting to partner with us. And then soon the discussions changed from partnership to acquisition. But full transparency, we never had a plan to exit. And it just happened that we were blessed with the opportunity of being acquired. Now, that being said, for anybody who wants to sell their business, I think timing is everything. I also feel that it's really important to make sure they're ready to sell because it's a true separation. And if you're that type of person where you feel like you've created something and it's going to be taken away from you, you're going to have a hard time. But as far as actual steps one takes to prepare a business for sale, I think your books have to be in place. You definitely want to make sure that your business is profitable because obviously it's not going to look attractive to the buyer who wants to buy your business. And then with profitability, you also want to look at it and try to get the maximum amount for your business. Once all that is kind of squared away, you're ready to sell. And you have a price as to what you want and you have that roadmap from start to finish. Like, for example, for us, we have the roadmap. I have the vision. I have that exact number as to what is my non-negotiable amount if I ever want to sell that my business. So you have to have all of those in place. And then once that's all scored away, you definitely want to make sure that all of your books are in order and make sure all of your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, because any reasonable and smart buyer who wants to purchase a company will want to do due diligence on your company. So you definitely want to make sure if you want to look attractive and you want to make yourself and your business the most attractive out of others, you definitely know what people look for is a business that's clean, not too many legal issues, not too much debt, not too many cooks in the kitchen. So the more simple your business is when it comes to not only presenting it to others, but also internally, whether it's having a clean slate with finances and who your partners are and minimizing the amount of legal battles you have, all of those lead to having a more attractive business to sell to somebody and making sure you're ready to sell. Obviously, the most important.
Great advice. In terms of where you got that number in your head, is there a standard that you want? Is it like 5x your revenue? Like, I don't know, because I've never exited. So I'm just trying to get an understanding. What
That's
was
a
it, the
great
number
question.
that you had in your head?
I mean, with our first company, we got 20 times,
Wow.
because back then we were in a very growing industry. Whereas today,
Mm.
our industry has become fully commoditized. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of competitors that offer business filings and compliance services. But back then, there was just a few. And out of those few, there were only a few that were really reputable. And one of them happening to be us. So we were looked upon as a very attractive company and they wanted to pay top dollars for our company. So we lucked out. Today, I would say with where our economic climate is, somebody getting 5 to 10 times their EBITDA is pretty good deal out there. And they should celebrate if they get that much.
Yeah, that's great. That's very interesting. Now, starting a business with your husband is also unique. How do you both
Yes.
leverage your strengths and tackle challenges together?
So my husband Phil, he's amazing. He's my best friend, and I don't know how to do business other than running it with my husband.
He
He's truly the
compliments you.
visionary behind CorpNet.
Oh, so he's the
Very much
visionary.
so. And he is the visionary. And I can't take credit for that because he really does come up with the vision for the company. And I think that's where the magic happens with us is that he has this idea and he brings it to life and then I execute on it. So, we come from two different schools of thought when it comes to our daily upbringing and kind of just our personalities. He's the happy-go-lucky guy who is just lucky all the time and he's always late. He would probably be late to his own funeral, God forbid. And I'm kind of more anal retentive. Everything's got to be planned, everything's got to be on schedule, and I get really upset if we're late to a meeting. That's, to me, is the secret sauce, is because we complement each other. And for most, it may not work. And for most married couples, I hear that working together is like a recipe for disaster. But for us, it works. We've been doing it as long as we know each other. And that's how we met, was being study partners. And then it became owning a business together and running a business together. So it works for us. And with that said, though, I would say there has to be clear delineation amongst each other's roles so that we're not stepping on each other, and we still have autonomy in the way we think and the way we want to manage. And I think we do a pretty good job of that.
And I'm guessing after a certain time with family, you guys cut the professional work out. Like at meal times, do you guys not discuss business and work?
When you're a small business owner and you run a business together, you're married, you're parenting together, I mean, in and of itself, you can't help it. Things are going to commingle. But for us, we try to keep things separate. We try to take time out for date night. We try to keep the marriage spicy. And sometimes it's hard because when you're trying to strike $1 billion deal and you're having difficulty on contract negotiations, it's hard not to bring it at the house because all you're thinking about is that deal. At the same time, I feel that it also reminds us of the importance of taking time out and celebrating each other and just being friends and married partners and just a husband and wife as well.
That's beautiful. Very inspiring. And as a mother of four, how do you balance your family demands with all your entrepreneurial activities? And what advice can you offer to other parents in similar situations? Because it's a lot of work. I admire what you're doing.
I think for me, again, it really boils down to being completely organized. The way I look at life is less is more. So I have 4 children. Most of them are grown. I have a younger one who's 12, but most of my kids are grown. They're 22 and their 20s. So I really, really try to give them autonomy and let them kind of come to me as they need help. But as they were growing up, it was a lot more challenging. And I would say for a small business owner who is trying to start a business or is in the midst of running a business and they're trying to balance business and running a family, I think it all boils down to organization, making sure we're not committing and overcommitting ourselves to things that we can't do. And I often tell people it's okay to say no. No is a complete answer. And the people that I try to mentor, I just try to say, like, it's better to only commit to what you can actually handle rather than overcommitting yourself. Because when you overcommit, it's just very overwhelming and it makes you be not present. So it's like you're overwhelming yourself, you're committing yourself to all this stuff, and then you're not really in it to appreciate it and you're not being present. Right. So for me, it's all about taking in as much as I can handle and not overcommitting. And then when it comes to family life and children, I try to keep it super, super simple. We have dinners. We go out with our family. We go out with the children. If they're away in college, I at least try to talk to them once or twice a week. But mainly it's really about spending quality time. It's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. So I try to make sure that when we are all together and when we are spending time together, that it's very quality and that we're not just sitting there just trying to check off a box saying, oh, we just all got together. It's really quality time and we're all present with each other. And I think that's something that I'm very, very big on.
Yeah, I think that's super important, especially in this day and age with all the devices. It's easy to not be present
Yes.
and get distracted as well. So it's great that you've said that.
Yes.
Let's talk about mindset. What are the common mindset barriers that entrepreneurs face and how can they overcome and identify these mental barriers? Because sometimes people have fear of failures, but how do they overcome these to achieve their goals?
So for me and how I've overcome that mindset where I want to be constantly present, constantly on, and really in tune with where I need to go as far as the direction of the business, it's when I get quiet with myself. I really listen to that inner voice. Because as crazy as it may be, believe it or not, when you get quiet with yourself and you just sit in stillness and silence, whether it's 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening, there's a lot that happens during that time of stillness. And if there was one thing that I would implore about any entrepreneur and how much more success can come out of this, is getting quiet with yourself and getting still and just listening to that inner voice. Because for me, when I get quiet, when I get still, and when I'm listening and not talking, and listening more and talking less, is when I find myself being the most productive. I find myself being truly much more focused. And I find myself being able to clearly identify opportunities that I need to focus more on, and also identifying those opportunities or issues that I need to give less shit about,
Mhm.
or kind of get rid of them out of my daily life. Because oftentimes I feel like what happens is, as entrepreneurs, we're so caught up in the daily grind of the business, and we're so in it that we fail to look at it from the outside. And what I've often found for myself is that when I get quiet and when I get still and when I'm talking less and listening more, it's just like a domino effect. It's like everything just falls into place for me. So that's the mindset, in my opinion, is listening to your gut, whatever it is that you do, having maybe a spiritual practice that you follow every day. I would say taking time out of your day to just reset. Oftentimes, most entrepreneurs think entrepreneurship is like all about the grind. And that's the one thing that I've started to realize. It's okay to take time out. It's okay to reset. It's okay to be quiet. It's okay to kind of just be the observer instead of the talker. So those are things that I feel have benefited me when it comes to the entrepreneurial mindset.
Beautiful. I like that because definitely with being a business owner or an entrepreneur, your mind can sometimes be a million miles an hour. And I think it's super important. I find that helpful too. Early in the morning, just praying and being grateful for what I have, and then just visualizing my goals as well. So, I think that can help go a long way to tackle problems for the day. So let's talk about qualities that
Yes.
make a great leader. What do you see? Because you've seen so many different businesses. What qualities do you see makes a great leader, especially during growth and expansion, even during downturns? Because the economy these days now, it's not the greatest economy, but what have you seen so far in terms of the qualities?
For me, I love Simon Sinek, and I'm a great, great supporter of him and his mentality when it comes to leadership. And he had this podcast that he did in this interview about how leaders should always eat last. And it's kind of the mentality that I have when I lead a team, is that you can't just expect people to respect you. You have to earn their respect. And the way you earn a respect of your team as a leader is by making sure that you're doing everything, and I mean everything, whether it's being the CEO of the company and reviewing P&Ls and profit and loss statements, all the way down to being the janitor, but really, really, are you in it, and are you truly in the operations of the business? Are you really capable of putting your sleeves up and working at the same pace of every person on your team? And if you're commanding them to work hard,
Mm.
well, is that the message that you're also giving to them, and by example? Because as leaders, oftentimes what I see is this impression of, I'm a leader and I get to do XYZ, but I'm going to expect this from my employees. And oftentimes, to me, that doesn't lead to a collaborative community whereby the leader is respected. I
Mm.
feel that when you're looking at a company, you have to look at that company as the leader being one of the sum of all of its parts, and the other parts make up all of the other executive team, leadership teams, and the support teams and the employees. And the message, the vision, although that all comes from the leader and the visionary, and it's great, they can talk the talk, but are they able to walk it as well? So for me, it's all about saying what you mean and making sure that whatever is coming out of your mouth is relational and in accordance with what you feel. It's living a set of principles where you're living in this authentic, genuine way with your employees. And that's really important to me. I don't care what my title is, but you have to lead by example. And if you want a successful company, your employees need to know that they're valued, that their voice matters, and they're part of something bigger than just a paycheck. And nowadays, that's what employees are looking for. They're looking for a sense of community. They're looking to be looked upon as a human, not just a number by their uppers and the leadership team. So it's really important to me.
Great. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek as well. Do you have any mentors, role models, or books that have helped you immensely in your journey?
I mean, I love books and I read books all the time. One that really, really resonates with me and it's very, very dear to my heart. It was written by Zappos founder, Tony Hsieh. Unfortunately, he passed away a little bit some time ago, but he was the CEO and founder of Zappos and he's a great, great guy. And just his business mentality, his business acumen is again, very much in line with our leadership mentality and kind of like my leadership style. And you got to create a little bit of weirdness in the company. You got to accept people for who they are, but work hard, play hard, being accountable, just making sure that whatever comes out of your mouth, whether it's to your peers or to your clients, that it's genuine, it's authentic, it's aligned with how you truly feel inside. And we as a company, our mission here at CorpNet is to inspire, educate, and support entrepreneurs and business professionals in business together. And we do that by offering the most comprehensive, cost-effective services when it comes to incorporation, LLC filings, payroll tax registration setups, and compliance services in all 50 states. However, that wouldn't be possible without our team. That wouldn't be possible without everyone that makes it possible for us to give this service to our client, all the way from the person who takes the call when the client calls in, all the way up to the person who fulfills the order. So for me, leadership is all about collaboration. It's about hearing people out. It's about not cutting people down. It's about making sure there is clear expectations, a clear direction, a clear vision, so that if there is problems with a particular employee, you can look at them and go, hey, we talked about this. And what I'm seeing is that what we talked about and agreed about didn't come true. How should we handle this? How do you think we should handle this? And just making sure everyone is accountable for their part.
Yep, you're empowering them to help problem solve their own and find solutions for their own.
Yeah.
Exactly. What are your goals for the next 5 years and how do you plan to achieve them?
Well, my first goal is to continue to lead a very, very spiritual and relational life and continue to be happy, because I think as entrepreneurs, first and foremost, we need to be happy. We need to be centered in order to do everything else that we need to do and is expected of us. So first, I got to take care of me, make sure I'm spiritually aligned, both from the outside and the inside, so that I could help others. And I would say, obviously, we would love to have an exit plan between now and the next 5 years. I don't know when that is. And travel a lot and continue to really, really provide more seamless products and services and simplify the business filings and any aspect of the business filing and compliance process for our users and for nationwide, for anybody who wants to start a business, grow a business, expand a business, or even maintain their current business. And we just want to come out with new products and services and continue to be the leader when it comes to getting people to start a business, set up payroll tax registration accounts, and keep their businesses in compliance.
Good. And it's something that definitely all business owners should have too. So, what is one piece of advice you wish you had received when you were just starting out? Was there something that looking back now you wish you knew?
The one piece of advice that I would say I wish I knew more, and I feel like I'm much more seasoned at it today than I was a while ago. But then again, it's like I learned and I'm glad I learned. But I would say it's really important to know who your true friends are and who is just there to take advantage of you and is there just for the money. So it's really important, in my opinion, to really, really navigate business relationships, personal friendships, and not to try to mix the two because at the end of the day, you're the one who's getting hurt. So I would say one big learning experience for me is having to have more boundaries, having to be more reserved and be more boundaried when it comes to people around me because oftentimes your niceness and kindness is mistaken for weakness,
Mm.
and oftentimes it's not a good thing in business. So you got to be more boundaried in business even if people don't like it. You got to be boundaried and you got to hold firm loving boundaries with people around you even if it's at the expense of people not liking it, because otherwise you're just being taken advantage of.
Yeah. And I guess that would happen a lot too. If you don't know your boundaries, then it's easy to get taken advantage of. Finally, where can people find you and follow you? I know you've got a brand on social media, but if anyone wants to contact you, how do they follow you?
Thank you so much, Linda. So, anybody who's interested in starting a business, expanding their business, setting up a payroll tax account in any of the 50 states, or keeping their business compliance, just visit us at www.corpnet.com. We're open Mondays through Fridays from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you can come and visit us on the internet. That's 24/7. If you'd like more information about our products and services, you can also email us to info@corpnet.com or call 1-888-449-2638.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate that. And I hope everybody got some great tips and advice as well. Take care.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.